Jake Walker. I'm the Vice President of quite a few different hats here at Vision. Kind of fall in two categories. Mainly, I lead all of our business development efforts, manage the outside sales account executive team, and also lead all the marketing efforts that we have in some of our larger initiatives. My background, I joined the team here at Vision about a year ago. It was about June of last year when the company that I founded, Prince CPG, was acquired by Vision. Prior to that, we spent about 8 years building marketing automation, workflow automation, and marketing asset management solutions for agencies, national and international brands. We work really closely to develop asset management products, but then also automation solutions that went all the way from client-facing all the way through a production workflow and into a delivery method, whether that was fulfillment, mail, or delivery to some sort of field unit. So the other aspect of what I do here at Vision is manage what is called our Synergy Suite of Services, which is a suite of services that leverages our internal development team and some different technologies, some proprietary, some off-the-shelf, that we use to build automation solutions for clients. That can be everything from basic online storefronts for brands, multiple location, multiple markets, to some of the larger brands that we work with where we're running large fulfillment systems for some of the largest financial advisor firms in the world. We're working with some very large financial institutions to develop automation out of Salesforce, to develop lifestyle marketing automation that integrates with their digital marketing efforts, all the way to just simply running back-of-house operations for one of the largest theaters and their ticket distribution in the world. So we have a lot of different hats that I wear. Like I said, I spent most of last year transitioning those technology products and the clients we had to a larger production facility we have here at Vision. And then I've really been in my role leading the business development efforts for really the first half of this year. Some of you I've met, some of you I haven't. I'd like to meet each and every one of you individually, so if you want to stick around afterwards, I'd love to chat, get to know you, get to learn a little bit more about your business. I am new to the market, I am new to the Vision team, so networking is part of the reason we're here tonight. The other reason, or today I guess, technically, the other reason that we're here is this is the first event in our Pint Lab Innovation Series, which is part of a larger brand strategy. You've probably seen some changes if you've worked with Vision in the past lately. The biggest of which being the launch of our new site, which is really the platform of the marketing efforts that we're pushing forward. But the Pint Lab, the idea behind it for me is I've noticed just in my short time here in the marketplace and with the Vision team that the market doesn't have a real strong grasp of the capabilities of our team. The talent, the technology, the solutions that we have in place is really impressive, and we're going to make a conscious effort here to be an innovator and to be a leader in the industry and work with the market to help understand what it is exactly we do and how we can help them. The series is going to focus on a series of monthly events, some of them lunch and learns, some of them happy hours, where we're going to bring in different guests like Pat and his team to talk about what we think are relevant topics in the marketing world. It's not just a sales pitch on print. It's really about topics that we think are relevant in the marketing space and the types of existing clients and future clients we have, the conversations that they're having, or things that would interest them. So that's the idea behind it. It's an entertainment space. It's also a space to have these types of conversations. I believe we are hosting, those of you that are Ad Club Colorado members, I think we're hosting the Kegs with Legs in October, I believe. It'll be in this space. That'll obviously, we want to do tacos again. It's October, we'll probably do some Oktoberfest. We'll do some beer and sausages or something. I don't know. Maybe make it a costume contest. So that's the idea here. So not a pitch. We hope you pull something inspirational out of this, and walk away with some topics that you can go back and put into practical application. So I'm going to shut up. A little bit about Pat. Pat and I have been working together and gotten to know each other here for a little bit. Augmented reality, many of you have probably heard about it. You've probably heard different conversations about it. A lot of people hear it as a buzzword. A lot of people don't know what the hell it does, or what the hell a practical application of it could be. The unique opportunity we have with Pat and with his team at Mighty Fudge is they've been implementing programs for what? Since 99?
No, well, not AR since 2013 when it went mobile.
Yeah, so they've seen what works, they've seen what not works, and Pat himself has really been on the leading edge of doing some pretty cool implementations with some large brands, some of which he played with. If you didn't get a chance to spend some time with some of the physical products back there, play around with them a little bit, and then these tags that are on the wall also have AR tags, and you can kind of see some examples of applications that they've done in the recent past. So again, hope it's at a minimum entertaining. I've gotten to know Pat, it will be entertaining. But you know, hopefully you come away with some inspiration, some thoughts, and some ideas of what you could do with AR. So without that, I'm going to turn it over to Pat.
And of course it went right up my nose.
Great.
Well, first off, I want to thank Jake and Evan for having us out here and the whole Vision team. This is fantastic. I know we're the pioneer here for the Pint Lab, and it's an honor to be there to kick off these series. I think they're going to be great, so I encourage you to come back for more. And if you haven't had the tour here, definitely do it. It's awesome. Their facility will blow your mind. I had no idea their capabilities until I actually did the full tour and saw everything, so I highly recommend that. And I also want to thank them for the tacos. I mean, who doesn't love free tacos, right? And on that note, you might notice on your seats we gave you a pack of gum, and it's not just to freshen your breath after tacos. That pack of gum, those Wrigley and Orbit packs, are actually a job we did recently. It's not live to the public yet, so you're going to get to see a little bit of a prototype here. But if you download our app at the App Store or at Google Play, it's Mighty Fudge AR, and those packs are actually triggers that do neat things. And we have some phones in the back. After I shut up, you can go back there and you can check it out in real time and see what it does, but it's really cool. It's going to relate to a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here today. So as Jake said, my name is Patrick Malik. I run Mighty Fudge Studios up in Boulder, Colorado. We started in 1999 after I left printing because these guys bought the company I used to work for. I started Mighty Fudge as an animation studio. We primarily did 2D animation and interactive stuff online until about 2008. Oh, where's my mouse? There's something here. Yeah, let's see. There we are. No, that's connected. Maybe not. But anyways, I hope so. This is this thing that keeps popping up here. So in 2008, we started doing food packaging for the natural foods products industry, which is big up in Boulder. As you're probably well aware, we are the Silicon Valley of natural foods. And my wife, Kimberly, joined the team from Celestial Seasonings and Wild Oats, and we started doing a lot of food packaging. And that's been fantastic. And then in 2013, we were introduced to augmented reality with mobile when it first hit the mobile market. And at first I'd seen augmented reality, I wasn't very impressed with it. But when I saw it on mobile, it kind of blew me away. And after I saw our tech team gave a presentation on it, I said, either I'm going to move up into the mountains and build a cabin and surround it with sandbags, or I'm going to embrace this technology with both hands, because the future is coming. If you guys have ever seen movies like Minority Report, where things are moving in the air and people are touching things that aren't really there, in superhero movies and this kind of stuff, that's AR and it's happening. So let's take it to the next level here. I guess we're just going to be stuck with that one. We'll just have to do that. So I think the main question with augmented reality everybody probably has is, what in the fudge is augmented reality? And the simple answer is, it augments your real world. Augmented reality through a device like a phone or goggles, which are coming out. We talk about Google Glass and that kind of thing, and we all know that didn't work out so well, but that stuff is happening and it's coming. And that's what augmented reality does. It allows you to see and interact with things in your real world around you that aren't actually there. They're digital augmentations. And that can be everything from, think about a fighter pilot with onboard instructions in their goggles, or it could be entertainment like Pokemon Go. I think that was a big breaking point for the industry, is when Pokemon, is this thing not connected to the internet? Oh, that's weird. All right, well, I might have to wing this. It's good I've done it a lot. Jake, can I get some help with that?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on here. We seem to be stuck in a loop, and I got a security thing up here. Do you want to? I can switch over to my laptop too, if that works better. What's going on? But anyways, I think one of the big questions is what's the difference between, we all know about virtual reality, you know, AR is kind of coming up behind that. And so what's the difference between augmented reality and virtual reality? And it's very simple. With augmented reality, you're seeing your real world. With virtual reality, you're putting on a helmet or a goggle, and your world goes away, and you're in a virtual, completely virtual world. You're in outer space, or you're in a mine, in a video game, fighting a dinosaur or whatever. That's virtual reality. Augmented reality takes away the background of that and puts those objects into your real world. And that technology is advancing to the point where we're going to see some big breakthroughs in the next year here in augmented reality. Apple, as you might have heard in the last year, has built this technology into their new phones, and so has Google. And that's a big step forward. In the fourth quarter of last year, we saw $1 billion invested in AR technology alone. That was more than had ever been invested in a single year up to that point. So you can see where if the money people are flowing to it, you know it's coming. And that was all set up by Apple and Google really embracing that technology for the first time. So we're very excited about that. And then this fall, Apple has announced they're releasing their Apple AR Toolkit 2.0, which is going to have a lot of advancements. But the big one is multi-user experiences. So we can all have our phone out and see the same thing from different angles and have the same AR experience that we normally can do individually right now, but as a group, which I think is going to really take it to the next level. You know, we remember Pokemon Go, where people were walking into the street with their phones and getting hit by cars and stuff. Now we got a whole bunch more people doing that all at once. So it's been great. So they're all going off the cliff. So that's kind of where we're heading in AR. And then a couple other advancements. You probably heard the term blockchain, or at least Bitcoin. And blockchain is an encryption technology that is behind the cryptocurrency. And it's unhackable unless you have a quantum computer. Unfortunately, those are coming out, so who knows how long we're going to have this window. But what blockchain is going to do, and it applies to AR, and I know that sounds kind of weird, but the way it applies to AR is it's security. AR it's listening and it's watching everything you're doing, so it knows. So you want to have control over your privacy. So if you're shopping in a store and you're using your phone with AR, it knows everything you're looking at. It's your eyes. And blockchain is going to give you that confidence to say, hey, you know what, Target, I don't want you doing that to me, and it's going to be able to cut that off, and there's no way Target can beat that. So blockchain is going to be a big thing, because I think one of the things that people have that are adverse, hey, there we are, we're back. You know, they're to technology, because it can be scary. I was telling somebody earlier, my grandfather used to tell me a story that his neighbor, this is like in the 70s, she still wouldn't use a telephone because she was afraid of the telephone. She thought it was evil somehow, and it was like going to kill her somehow. So that's a thing. And so blockchain is going to take that and do that for us. Actually, I'm going to move on a slide here, because I think I even have a slide on blockchain. Here. Hey, we're done. Cool. And then the third thing is, well, no, that's the second thing. Oh yeah, the third thing is 5G is coming. We all know about 4G and LTE. Our cell phones are about to get a lot faster, and I don't mean the device itself, I mean the way it connects to the cloud. And that's going to be a big advancement across the board with mobile technology, but in AR it's particularly important, because right now we have to bake everything into the app, and then there's no universal app for it. In the future, within a couple of years, your phone is just going to know when you point the camera at something and it has an AR trigger built into it, it's just going to launch the experience. It'll just know. So there won't be a third-party app. There'll be that's an extra step to download an app and to launch the app and then to get the experience. It's just going to be built into the phone. And that's going to be a big thing for AR, and we're very much excited about that. I mentioned the glasses. Two really cool things that are coming out this year. Leapfrog is putting out AR glasses for kids gaming. It's going to be a kid goggle thing where they can see stuff, so Bert and Ernie can be sitting in the living room with them while they're watching Sesame Street. Going to be very cool. And this one is the freakiest. I haven't seen it yet, but a holographic projection phone. It's a phone that actually projects a holograph onto the table, and if you all remember Star Wars, with Princess Leia putting the thing into R2-D2 and saying, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're our only hope. That's going to happen. Your phone's going to be able to do that. And okay, we're through the looking glass at that point, right? so that's kind of where we're at. And then this next stuff starts to apply to what we do with AR, because we do retail AR. And one of the big things that's happening right now, I'm sure you're all aware of, in retail, is they're getting their ass kicked by Amazon. And it's gotten to the point where Best Buy was taking printouts of their online customer reviews, cutting them out and taping them to the shelf to keep people from walking out of their store after looking at something to go home on Amazon to do, customer reviews, product comparisons, all that kind of stuff. with AR, we can do that now right at the shelf. And that's a big step forward for retail. We're going to talk about that next. Let's see. Yep. So here's our little demonstration, if and when it loads. But it unlocks all those magical features of Amazon. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I skipped ahead. Sorry, let me backtrack. This is all the stuff you can do with AR from a simple scan of a label the size of a quarter. So as we move towards more sustainable packaging, which I think is a big issue, especially in the natural food space in Boulder, having all that marketing branding space lost because we can't print it on in there anymore because a lot of these natural food companies want to get more natural in their packaging and sustainable. We can have all these features that you normally would have on pack right there triggered from a small AR scan. So sustainability is a big part of what we're talking about. And then as we move on, we can talk about the power of the retail shopper here, which is the Amazon thing. So you think about all those great features at Amazon. You can read customer reviews, you can see product comparisons, you can see other products that are similar prices, you can compare prices, you can do all of this stuff, and especially in food, dietary reviews is a big one in the natural space because people are gluten-free or they want to know if it's non-GMO. Those are all things that we can do right there on the shelf from an app, from a simple scan of the front of the pack. And we actually have a demo of this at the back table there, where my good friend Jeff Pickett is back there in the blue shirt, and he's going to talk to you later. He's going to show you all that cool stuff. And it's very cool, so you can get all that. You can do recipe demos. I wish this would come up because it has it all on there. I don't know what's going on. Recipe demos, product comparisons, social media, all that stuff just triggered right off the front of the pack. So you can sit there right on the shelf and go, hey, Count Chocula, hey, Lucky Charms, and get different information right there on the pack. And that's all. Oh, there we go. Am I doing something wrong? Or is this... Okay. So here we go. So customer reviews, dietary info, product pairings, recipes, shopping list. That's for private label. If anybody is in the private label grocery, that's a big issue with them. They want to keep people shopping in their category. So a shopping list would do that in AR, along with all this other stuff. So, and this goes back to this right here. This is Food Dive. This is last September. I bet you that. And it says September. Nice typo. 52% of shoppers want this information in store right now. That was last September. I bet it's higher than that now. So we're going to see this as a revolution in retail coming up. Oh, here we go. All right, so, and again, natural foods. This is a Boulder brand thing, and what we're talking about here is ingredient disclosures. So this little scan right here tells us that this farmer right here, that's the actual guy that grew that product that's in that product right there. Very big deal in the natural food space is sustainability and sourcing information because people want to know that it's pure because people have dietary restrictions or they just, they're into that's what they're looking for. So again, from a simple scan of a pack, you can do all that stuff right there on the shelf. Let's move on here. And beyond that, we do signage and displays. This is one of our things. We have a demo of it in the back. It's a shelf talker that actually talks back to you. And this is a cool thing too because you can do instant couponing and things like that. We also have on the wall over there's a header from a Hennessy display that we just did. Very cool. I would definitely recommend checking that one out. That's probably our most impressive piece to date. And what it does is it has an AR experience that's very cool, but you push a button and you get $2 off a bottle of Hennessy right there at the store. So that's a really cool thing. And that's where we're going with this stuff. Any sign can do it. There's nothing proprietary about AR. We use recognition technology, so any graphic, this sign over here, we could trigger that with AR. So there's nothing magical about the printing or the design of the actual thing that you're scanning. It's just face recognition technology. It's as simple as that. And it's very powerful stuff. So anything that's graphic in your store can do that. We have a floor mat, that thing with the target right there, that was a floor mat we did. Super funny. Hal Rail, great comedian, did Saturday Morning Cartoons, does the voice on that one. Super funny stuff. So that's all available to us. And that is a neat concept if you think about it, even beyond retail. One of the things we talked about at one point was with Vail Resorts and how, okay, I'm skiing and I take my phone out and I got to take my glove off, turn my phone on, and I got to type stuff in and I'm freezing. With AR, you can turn your phone on and go, boop, hit a sign, show you a video of the run you want to take. Or, boop, that's where the bathrooms are because I got to pee and I'm zipped up to here. I mean, that's cool stuff, right? And so that's kind of where we're going. We recently also did, I'm going to jump to events here, because that kind of leads into that. Oh, sorry, restaurant and bar. One more thing on that. Very cool stuff. Coasters are going to be big with AR. Anybody heard of 19 Crimes, the wine? Look it up if you haven't. It's out of Australia. It's probably the biggest AR PR thing that's gone out since Pokemon Go. And it's very cool. This wine company in Australia has all these bottles of wines, and on the front is a picture of a serial killer, because Australia used to be a prison colony. So they got these serial killers, and when you AR them, they come to life and tell their story, like what they did to get arrested and put to death. It's kind of morbid, but it really caught on. And that points to the fact that if you're going to do AR, go bold, because right now, that's what it takes. And then there's other ones too. It's catching on in beverage right now. We've seen coasters, we've seen beer bottles go to AR, and we think that's going to be a big thing coming up in the industry. So I would keep an eye out for that. But as restaurant as well, the neat thing about restaurant in AR is you had a captive audience. You got somebody, they're sitting there, and they already got their phone out. I mean, we've all been to the bar, and they're sitting there, and there's people just sitting there looking at their phones. And maybe they're waiting for somebody, maybe they got nothing else to do. But it's a captive audience. And if they could have AR experiences while they're doing that, that could benefit the restaurant in many ways, and bar upsell, drink pairings, you can see how cocktails are made. I mean, it's all available. Anything you can think of, we can put into AR. It's really cool stuff. And then, what I love about this slide is, or if you're one of those sustainable restaurants like we have in Boulder, you don't want any of that stuff. You don't want a table tent or a paper menu. You can do everything off the logo that's printed on the table. You can just scan that, like if you're at Chipotle, whoop, I want a burrito, blah, 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 and it can all be triggered right off of that. It kind of reminds me of the old days with Red Robin when they had the thing you have to push and order, the little like the old days in the drive-thrus. So that's that. And then, this was a really cool one. This was we did this this year, for 2018. If you're not familiar, Boulder has an international film festival. It's one of the top 25 coolest film festivals, according to Movie Maker magazine. They told us that. I don't know if it's actually true. But what they wanted to do this year is they like to lead. And they thought AR would be a great way to do that. So as far as we know, we're the first festival to ever do this. Their entire program is AR. And we have copies of it back there. They had their own app, and we bolted the AR onto the app, and it allowed the viewers that were going to the festival, you have this paper, it's a 60-page saddle stitch paper program. You hold up your phone over it, and there's buttons you can push over the pictures of the movies, and you hit the button, and it shows you the trailer of the movie right there. It's really cool. And that got a ton of press. We got a ton of press, and I would say our biggest 3-day download ever. It was over 2,200 downloads of the app over the course of the festival, which was, for us, huge. We were happy if 50 people would have done it, so we were super excited about that one. And it does other stuff, too. Besides we're going to do a game this year. We didn't do the game this year, but also the advertisers. It offered the film festival a way to give their sponsors more for their sponsorship money by having their ads AR capable. So many of the ads in the program actually come to life with 2-for-1 pints at the Boulder Brewery, or I think Channel 9 News just did a video of their news crew talking, and it just comes to life right in the catalog. Very cool stuff. But next year, we're going to do event location and stuff. So AR can be triggered by 3 things. It's an image recognition, an RFID beacon, which is it's used more in manufacturing, and also geolocation, so GPS. So what we're going to start doing at the festival this year is having GPS points in downtown Boulder where there will be AR content that people can go around and see while they're visiting the festival. So imagine being at a film festival and you're walking down the street and somebody's going like this, and you're like, what the hell's going on? Because he's taking a picture next to Indiana Jones. You just can't see him. You got to have the app to see him. So it's going to be really cool stuff. And you can do scavenger hunts. You can have incentives for your the vendors like in town, the bars and restaurants that are participating in the festival. You can have exclusive deals and offers, all driven through the AR portion of the app. We feel that event AR is going to be a big thing. All these music festivals and museums and zoos and places where you can go, we feel that AR has a huge take on that. On that note, somebody did a Jackson Pollock painting, I think it was, at MoMA in New York. And they didn't ask permission, they just did it. They took a picture of it, made it the trigger, and then made it come to life in AR, and it went viral. It was like a guerrilla thing. The museum was not really happy about it until they got a lot of good press about it. Now they want to do it, of course. They want all and everything to do that. So that kind of stuff is definitely coming as well. Groovy. There's so much more. We can talk all day, but I want to get some tacos here and let you guys experience this stuff firsthand, because what I always say about AR is you got to see it to believe it. I can show you slides all day. It does not have the impact of actually going back there and doing it and checking these things out in real time. It's really cool. A couple more things. Social mission gaming. Okay, so we talked about Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go was the high watermark. That was when my elevator pitch went from me spending 10 minutes explaining what the hell augmented reality was to, heard of Pokemon Go? We do that. And that made it real easy for us to talk about augmented reality. But look, people were chasing, they were so into this, somebody walked off a cliff. This is a true story. Didn't die, but got hurt. And people did get hit by cars playing Pokemon Go. That's how addictive this game was. But all you were doing was playing for points on a leaderboard. Like, who gives a shit, right? Like, I mean, that's great and everything if you're a kid, I guess. My daughter probably would love that. But what if we did that and everybody played the game, but instead of playing for points on a leaderboard, we were pushing the ball higher. And when the ball got to the top, the company that sponsored that was going to make a donation to save the rainforest, to help abused and abandoned children, or pick your altruistic goal, whatever it is. And instead of playing games for no reason, we can play these AR games and have them be for a bigger cause and a bigger reason. And we think that's a very powerful concept, especially with the post-millennial generation. We focus tested with the Gen Zers, and that pretty much was 1,000% thumbs up across the board. They want to save the world, and they want to do it in a cool way. And this is kind of a neat thing for them. So brands that are looking to engage with those younger generations that are very tech savvy, this is a concept that I think would be very powerful to engage those kids, because kids today, they don't buy your brand, they merge with your brand. It's like if they're going to buy your brand, they're going to put it on like a badge on their shirt or a sticker on the side of the NASCAR, you know? They merge with brands. It's a brand merger. So your values have to be aligned with where they're at. Otherwise, they're going to walk away and go find somebody who's are. And we think this is a really powerful way to engage that next generation and have fun doing it. I mean, let's be honest, it's fun. And that's the best part about it. So that's a really cool, very cool concept that we are working on as well. And did I have anything else? All right, this one last slide here. This is it. This is the credit crawl. These are all industries that are using or going to be using augmented reality. It's probably an incomplete list. It's amazing. Jeff and I saw a thing the other day, and you put this headset, it looks like the thing from Star Trek where the eyepiece comes over and you're looking through it, and it's for guys working on an oil rig or a big piece of machinery out in the desert, and they're talking to their tech support guy back in Houston or wherever, and they're talking in real time, and that guy, the guy who knows everything, is putting up AR graphics on this circuit board panel to show the guy where to change the fuse or which piece needs to be swapped out. Very cool stuff. And that's manufacturing. It's being used in warehouses. The RFID beacon thing is a big part of that. It's going to be used everywhere. It's going to be a big part of our lives moving forward. I mean, just in the last couple months, we've talked to the Broncos, we've talked to Mars Wrigley, we've talked to Hennessy. It's happening. AR is finally happening. After 5 years, 5 years ago there had been 3 people in this room. Now we got a full house, and that's awesome. So I think we're finally past that point. Like I was saying earlier to these guys, AR right now is where the internet was in 1998. Everything you put out in 1998, with a TV commercial, printed collateral, your web or your business card, had to have that website at the bottom, www.blablabla.com. Now no one does that, because if you don't have a website, really, seriously, everyone has a website. So AR is kind of in that stage right now. You got to let people know it exists. 5-10 years from now, people will just expect it. And I say that from a life experience. My 7-year-old daughter, once I showed it to her once, she walks around with her iPad expecting everything to come to life when she wants it. So that's where we're at, and that's your future customer, guys. So let's make sure we move towards that when we're moving towards new ideas. I think that's it. Let me look. Yeah, here we go. Internet 94, mobile apps 2007, 2018. We feel is the year of augmented reality. We feel like we really broke through this past year. And let me see. I think that's everything. That's all we got. I can't thank you guys enough for coming out. I'm going to stick around and answer questions. We're going to do demos. Jeff, stand up so everybody knows you're here. This is Jeff Pickett. He's our awesome media producer. He does amazing work. His experience is in animation and video, but he's joined us recently and is becoming more well-versed on the AR every day. So he can answer your questions, and if you're interested in talking to us further about AR, just give Jeff a call. He'll be more than happy to take that. And other than that, I really don't have anything. Just thank you guys for having us on.
Thanks, Pat. We're going to do a round of Q&A from the audience. If anyone has any questions that you want to ask Pat or ask for a little deep dive. One question I have is you were talking a little bit from a use case scenario of one of the burdens now that'll be eliminated very soon is the idea of having to download a third-party app.
Yeah.
One of the things you and I have talked about is there's kind of 2 ways to look at that, right? The burden of having to download the app or the opportunity associated with a brand in terms of integrating it into an existing app or creating an app. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit, or how that's leveraged, or even how you guys possibly use it?
I'm going to add a slide in my presentation. That's a great question. There's 2 ways to do it right now. There's 3. I guess, 2.5. Really, you're going to, right now with AR, you're going to either go with a big aggregator. You've probably heard of Zipper or Zapper or Blipper are the two big ones. I think they split off. They might have been the same company. We don't know. It's a mystery. We've talked to them both. And they are sort of the aggregator right now. They have many brands in them. I think Zapper just announced Pez, the Pez dispensers. They just picked them up. Blipper's been around the longest, I think, and they've got a bunch of brands. I think they have something like 8 million downloads in the US alone on their app. So you've got advantages there. You got a big already installed user base, and they will promote. They like to promote the brands that are in their app. So you got that working for you. But you're in their app. You're in their environment when you use it. So you're not in your own branded environment. So we recommend, I think what you're talking about is that opportunity to have your own app. And having an app now is kind of like having a website. Everybody's got an app, right? And apps can do so much more than AR. And we feel like it's a great opportunity. AR is a great opportunity to give people a reason to download that app. And then they can do other stuff. There can be couponing. You have your social media engagement. You can push messages to them. You can do geolocation stuff. So, hey, you're near a store, go buy chips or whatever. So all that's available within the app. So all those app features could be there. But then the AR could be like a great way to attract people. Like, oh, this cool thing, or oh, wow, I could win something by doing this. And so we see that as they kind of coexist right now. But some brands don't want to do that. And so what we think is going to happen, which is sort of the 2.5, is Blipper and Zapper right now are just big. They're just everything. It doesn't matter what your experience is. You put it in and it's in their thing. We think it's going to become more lanes, like marketing lanes, and more niche. So we're currently developing an app based purely on festivals. And it's just going to be for people with festivals. So it'll almost be a white label, but not quite. So it'll look and feel like their branding, but it'll still be inside of our app. So it'll be one app sort of over the top of that. And then we see that duplicating in other places. We think somebody's going to do it. We're working on one for retailers as well. So that's where we see another one. It's like, this is your retail shopping app, and it's all the brands are in here. So that's probably where it's going to go. But then we get into the issue with Apple and Google. They're going to eventually want that. They're not going to want you leaving their environment to go into somebody else's environment. They're going to keep you in theirs. So we think eventually, like Apple just recently built the QR reader into their camera. Most people haven't figured this out yet, but your camera now, if you update your iOS, now has a QR code reader built into it. So you don't have to open up a QR app. You just open your camera, bam, you get a QR code. So we feel that AR is probably next on that list. They're probably going to buy out one of the big ones, aggregate everything, and then when everything goes to the cloud, it's going to be more universally accepted. But I would say for the next couple years, it's probably going to be in the current conditions. And then also, I guess there is a third, like printers like you guys could have your own app. Vision could have a Vision app, and all of your clients could just live under that app. And that could be a thing too. Like we have our own Mighty Fudge app, and many of our client things are living in there right now because they don't want to spend the money to make their own app at this stage of the game. So, but it works. But I always recommend, man, I'm a branding guy at heart. Always put your brand out in front and get behind it. And so I would recommend having your own app personally. But again, it's just your budget and how your tolerance for pain, I guess, in that respect. I think you had a question over there, yeah.
Very similar. So
okay.
Apple and Google, you think are within the next 2 years?
If they're not, somebody's gonna beat them to it. I mean, they better be. We think so for sure. We've not gotten anything official, but everything's leaning in that direction. So that's kind of where we're at.
Search and the rest of it just makes.
Yeah, it really does. It's stupid if they don't. Yeah, especially with Google, like image search. I mean, come on, really? They're not going to build that into their phones? You got to be kidding me.
And you're seeing that the newest release of the Pixel, for example, has got some AR tags that you can play with that are more like placing AR images in existing images. And
that's cool, yeah.
And they're doing some recognition, with the camera in their locations and places types apps. So you can tell they're definitely, the technology's there. It's just a matter of what release is it going to be in.
Yeah, they're not going to let Snapchat beat them. Snapchat's way out in front of everybody right now, and they're not going to let them win. Trust me, that ain't going to happen. They'll outspend them at some point.
So the other question I have is the underlying technology around AR identical across the platform? It's
close right now. Most people are developing in Unity, which there's a plugin called Vuforia, which is a third-party plugin. I would say 99% of AR is done through that right now. We originally had our own proprietary one, but to keep updating it every time they update the iOS got to be a burden. So we switched over to Vuforia, and it's much more robust than it was even a year ago. So we're expecting that to move forward. But I would bet, I would bet Apple and Google build those things right into their toolkit at some point and take that out of it. But we like Unity because it's cross-platform. We can build it once and push it twice. And that's, for us right now, that's our best model. And again, eventually, is it all, we think, we think Apple or Google is going to integrate it into their iOS. Also, we feel that eventually this is going to be able to be handled through HTML5. So it might just be as simple as launching a website at some point. So we're getting closer to that. We're not quite there yet. That's my holy grail, because then we don't need any of this stuff. We just do it. Anybody can do it. So hopefully soon. I've been saying that for 5 years now, but it's exponentially accelerating right now. So fingers crossed.
You mentioned you talked before about the amount of investment that was made in AR last year.
Yeah, that's the big clue. Because we hadn't seen $1 billion in all 4 quarters, and we saw it in fourth quarter last year. As soon as Apple announced and Google announced their new iOS toolkit, it's $1 billion in hardware venture cap flushed out. I don't know where it's at this year, but I would imagine it's much higher. Much higher. There was 2 over there. Yes.
You had said that there are 3 different ways that AR works: image recognition, geolocation, and what was the third one? And how does it work?
Beacon. So an RFID beacon is sort of like, they use them for all kinds of stuff. It's mostly used for manufacturing and warehousing a lot of times. Sometimes in shipping they'll put them on stuff. In trucking and shipping it's huge, because they'll put a chip in each package so they can track that package with satellites all over the country, so they know exactly where it is at any given moment. And what we can do with that, and this is something we're talking about with the events, is so say you're at a stadium and you're going to go up and get a beer or nachos or whatever. We could put a beacon in that booth that would trigger an AR experience if you were within 30 feet of it. So if you were in 30 feet and you launched the app, think if you're at a Broncos game and you're standing there and all of a sudden John Elway is standing next to you, like from 1998, Super Bowl John Elway. So that could be a kind of a cool thing. Or it could just trigger a coupon. You could be like, boop, oh, I walked by, and oh my God, it just shot me a coupon for 2 for 1 pint of beer. That kind of stuff too. So that's an interesting thing. I think eventually when geolocation gets a little bit more granulated, right now I think we're within 10 feet I think we can get. When it gets a little more dialed in, I think that will take the place of the RFID chip in that respect. Those will still be around for other applications, but probably not utilizing AR as much. Yeah, you had a question.
Yeah, you were talking about Apple and Google kind of taking over and integrating a lot of stuff into their systems.
Mm-hmm.
In that regard, so Zapper and Blipper are like the big ones that I know of.
Right.
That kind of makes them a monopoly on that aspect. So does that mean if somebody else comes up with their own version of their own code and way to activate AR, they're going to have to actively go to those guys and say, oh, right.
That's a good question. I just don't know if there's a real answer for that right now. It really depends on what happens in the next 18 months here, in my opinion. I would say if I was Zapper or Blipper right now, I would be actively trying to get Apple to buy me out, because I think their days are numbered. Because the minute that anybody in this room can put a trigger, like with your phone, because it's going to be that simple. You're going to be like, okay, that's the trigger, and I want a dinosaur to run across the room if you trigger that. And it's going to be there. It's going to be just like putting an emoji on a text.
Right.
It's going to be that simple. So I would be on that. I think there's always going to be room for a third-party innovation. I would hope, because I don't think Apple and Google are, they're going to do it the way they do it. And I don't think they're going to lead us to where it goes next. So I would hope that, somebody takes it to the next level, I guess is what I'm saying with that.
But either way, like what you're talking about, it feels like it's locked to your phone.
Yeah, right,
If
yeah.
you're a third-party person, you need to have your own app, your own thing that someone has to download.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, again, I go back to the HTML5 thing. If they can build it into that and we can trigger it from that, then we don't need that anymore, and then everybody's out.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it just becomes a free-for-all at that point. And as much as I hate to say that, because I don't like seeing people go out of business, if you've ever used Zapper and Blipper, they kind of deserve to go out of business, in my opinion. So that's just me, though. And again, I've been doing this for so long. When Pokemon Go first came out, I got mad at first. I was like, God, because we were working on similar games. We just couldn't get the edge recognition down, and we wanted to do the same kind of a game, but inside. So we were trying to, now they can do that. Like, it was only 3 years ago. And but then I got over it. I was like, oh, my elevator pitch just got way shorter. So this actually works for me here. So same thing with Blipper and Zapper. I was like, oh, really? We're doing that, but they got more money than us. But we do a better job. One thing I will say about our AR, just a side plug for us, our stuff works. And a lot of it doesn't work. Ours works good. Cool. Anybody else got it? These are great questions. This is awesome. I'm going to add slides to my deck. Yeah.
This might be for Jake or for both of you, but years ago when direct mail campaigns were just static, and then you started to move to variable data and personalized data,
Yeah.
you definitely saw a difference in the ROI.
Oh, absolutely.
All Is there data out there already for
Yep.
the same thing, jumping from variable data to AR?
Absolutely. There's companies that they're just starting to come on board with this stuff, and we actually talked to one about a week or two back, and they do exactly that kind of stuff. They're very heavy into the metrics on that, and I think that those two roads are definitely going to converge at some point. The AR gives you a lot of information, and again, this all goes into that blockchain thing I was talking about. I think that's going to be a bigger piece of the puzzle there, is because once the consumer has control over the data that gets sent to them, and they can lock that out, like, just think of this example with blockchain. So you're getting a direct mail piece every month, and you decide, I don't want that anymore, or I only want this one. You'll have the controls to tell that stuff, and the demographics that, we talk about big data. Everybody wants big data, and AR is, and that's the most intrusive form of big data. They're getting everything. That camera's on. It sees what you're looking at, and that's going to seal that off too. But that'll allow, I think, direct mail to get even more targeted, because you'll be able to say, hey, I want this, or I want them to know that I am a 49-year-old male, and I like basketball or whatever. I'm more of a baseball kind of person, but I like all sports actually. But yeah, so I can tell them what I want them to know about me. They could know that all that stuff about me, but not know it's me. And I think that's the key thing with how that goes with the direct mail piece, is that you could know that there's a person living at this address that does all these things, but I don't know who the hell it is. But it could just get it to them because of that security stuff. That's a great question, though. I think direct mail and AR have a big future together, in my opinion.
And I would concur with that, because you're getting more data-like experience that you get across social platforms, right? I mean, that's the whole game behind the game, is the amount of data they're collecting on really your activity, your behavior, your location, your likes, your dislikes, so they can put a more targeted message in front of you. We're going to be able to have better access to that data from a mail standpoint, and we're seeing a reemergence in mail to kind of cut through that clutter and that noise. But the big opportunity with AR is the ability to put a ton of content in a very small footprint, right? I mean, we've all worked with clients that are trying to do either direct mail. This is where the print plate obviously comes in. I mean, all the triggers that you're seeing, the delivery device, in this case, is the print. Those of you that got the email from me, the trigger device was on screen. Well, it can be both, but the print allows you to get a lot of content in a very small footprint and get it in front of a very targeted audience really well. So there's huge opportunities we feel in augmented reality and print to really just drive that experience, because especially with GDPR, I mean, you're seeing a lot of a lot of issues in terms. Part of the drive we're seeing back to direct mail are digital marketers who realize they have to be a little more diligent about how they're marketing, and you can still buy address, you can still buy those lists. This is still information that's readily available. So what we're seeing is a move towards direct mail to use that as the trigger into a digital marketing strategy, right? So instead of that entry email that you may have cold sent someone or spam someone with before, now you're seeing a targeted direct mail piece that's driving digital traffic and then allowing them to opt into some sort of digital marketing experience. So there's a lot of different ways that are pushing that. Cataloging is a huge opportunity. Some of the stuff we even talk about, product guides, catalogs, those sorts of things where you can actually have products come to life, see 3D renderings, be able to engage with them, see videos of the product in action. A lot of that experience that's going to drive engagement and really marry that conversation of traditional media and the newer media to be able to integrate those as a cohesive strategy as opposed to them living in separate channels.
Well, with the variable data piece, you could do a direct mail. Say you did a direct mail piece and it was a sweepstakes. With the variable data, you could print different codes on there that the trigger would pick up, and so you could have like a scratch-off game or like a shell game or a slot machine. You fold your phone over to the direct mail piece, and because you had that variable data on there, it could change the AR experience based on what we know about you. So that's a very powerful thing. And, I think those things go hand in
hand. The
hand.
opportunities with VDP and digital production are mind-blowing. People are just scratching the surface in terms of the personalization abilities that are available to you through these different production methods. And personalizing a salutation or dropping somebody's company name in a text block somewhere is not what we're talking about. We're talking about entirely targeted and different experiences that you can cost-effectively put in front of people.
If you guys, I always go back to Minority Report because I think that movie really sums up where AR is almost at right now. And there's a scene where the cops are after him, I think it's Tom Cruise, and he's walking in the mall, and then he walks past all the signs, and they just start talking to him. Like, hey, John, those pants you like are on sale this week. He's like, shut up, shut up. He's trying to get away. He's like running for the law. And that's where that comes in, because, I mean, I just saw the commercial today, Apple, pay with your face, right? I mean, they got all our faces now, so they got our thumbprints and our faces. And that's going to be a thing of the future, is talking signage. You're going to walk in and things are going to talk to you directly. Like, hey, you know what? Those Cheerios you like, they're back. The seasonal ones, those are good, and they're on sale here. 2 for 1 right now, take a coupon. And that's going to be kind of the world we're heading towards. And like I said, sandbags with the cabin in the woods, or embrace this technology with both hands and move forward. So that's kind of where we're at. I chose the second path. Thankful. Cool. And I'll do good in the woods. Yes?
In your experience, I know that there's, broad base here, but if somebody were to think that they wanted to undertake an effort, let's say a minor effort, what sort of lead time and is involved, and how long would a process for a smaller effort?
Well, Jeff, what do you think? We did that Wrigley piece in about 3 weeks, was it? Yeah, the Hennessy one I think we did in about a month. It just depends on the content, really.
Sure.
And if we did one where they had the content, they had hundreds of YouTube videos, and they just wanted them to trigger off the back of packages. That's easy. But usually an app development, when you beta test, especially the first time you release an app, you go through all the beta testing and things like that. I would say 6 to 8 weeks, to really get it dialed in where you feel comfortable putting it in front of your client. But again, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Obviously, something like Pokemon Go would take a lot longer, but there's other things we can do that are a lot quicker, for sure. I definitely recommend checking out the Orbit Gum one on our app. Oh, and by the way, the cellophane on the front is the trigger. If you take the cellophane off, it won't work. But that one has a toothbrush that comes off, and it scrubs off the top of the label. We have a demo in the back, Jeff can show you, and it's really cool. And that one took us about 3 weeks to put that together for the client. So yeah, somewhere in there.
What is the trigger in the wrapper?
Nothing. It's all image recognition. So that's the problem with the Orbit one. And again, you find these things out because you go through them and do them. We were like, this is great. Then all of a sudden, somebody came in and was like, but mine doesn't work. I'm like, that's because you took the wrapper off. Like, shit. It's always something, right? So yeah, you live and learn, and I think that's one of the things that where I'm at. And again, not many people do this stuff. I've already done it wrong. I've done everything wrong at least once. So.
But in that application, you could just put it on the actual package.
You could, yes.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't know. We didn't think that through. I mean, we could have easily just done it on the packages underneath the wrapper. We just delete. That was what we were thinking. So, but yeah, it's all good. And if that one actually went live, we would correct that and figure that out. But yeah, and then the Doublemint one does a really cool thing where a 3D globe pops up. And it has leaves, and you can push the leaves and see videos about the different kinds of mint that they use in the gum. So there's a lot of cool applications, but I think he said it best. We're scratching the surface here. This is the tip of the iceberg, if even the tip. It's amazing where this is going to go in the next couple of years.
Any other questions?
Oh, one more. All right, keep it going.
Again, you did the Hennessy in 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I haven't taken a look at it, but
It's not. I mean,
I
it's,
want you to have to commit, but what sort of cost range is involved?
It goes back to that content. All right, so the
Yeah.
basic app in general is going to cost you 10 to 15 grand minimum. Just to launch an app that has very rudimentary features. Bolting on AR, the AR experience could cost another 5 to 10 grand depending on what you do. With that particular, those two, currently they're prototyped into our app. They haven't released their own app yet, so we haven't got to that phase of the cost. We're just testing things out, focus testing, market testing, and seeing how it's going. And a lot of people right now are prototyping things and pushing them up the food chain in their businesses because the guys in charge don't have time to learn about augmented reality. But if you show it to them, that's a different thing. So that's kind of how that goes. But yeah, I would say the Biff app as a baseline, that was 30 grand. And that's a pretty robust app. I think there were 60 triggers and about 60 videos and then a full schedule for the film festival. So it's a pretty robust app for 30 grand. But that's about right. But apps can cost, $250,000 easily. You can get really out of control with an app in a hurry.
So let's say you have 60 triggers, and you find that 2 of them aren't necessarily appropriate. Can you cut them off the list?
Absolutely, yeah.
After it's already...
Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can always go back and do an update. And this goes back to what I was talking about with the cloud, the 5G and the cloud. Eventually, that'll all be real time because the app won't actually look for the trigger until you point it at it. And then it goes and finds it in the cloud and brings it back down, and then making a change instant. So the minute you change it in the cloud, it's changed for everybody. Right now, you'd have to download the app again to get the refresh of the data. So again, there's little hurdles right now that we're still getting over, which is, in my opinion, what's holding AR back at this moment are these little technological advances. And one after another, we're slowly getting over each one. And eventually, we're going to be in a full sprint, and before we even know what happened. And I'll probably get passed over by people that just got into it, and I'll be like, wait, I started this.
Any other questions?
Get acquired.
Say that louder. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. Thank to Jake and Evan and Vision Graphics, and come up and see us in Boulder on the west end of Buffalo's Coffee. But I really appreciate it, man. Awesome.
Thank you.